hello friends, family, and everyone in between. My name is Kaylin Edwards and this is my very random YouTube channel. Don't mind the hair. I washed it and I'm keeping it curly for a couple days because I really don't want to go through the process of flat ironing it. And yes, I flat iron my hair because I really just, I can't. It's just so much heat under here. It's ridiculous. So yes, of course, as always, fair warning, my dogs will be making noise in the background. Currently Leo is how would you say, shining the berries right now by himself, and he's going to be making those type noises definitely in the back. But anyway, today I want to talk to you guys about writing female characters. Now, I didn't honestly think I was going to make a video about this because I always figured that a lot of the people who wrote female characters, especially main female leads, were women. And then I went back and I started thinking about all the books I loved and all the books I read when I was growing up and look at to see who wrote these books, and a vast majority of them were men. And so now I'm confused. So this doesn't just apply to just female characters in books, but this could be female characters in movies and films, because I did study film and I do know a lot of directors, a lot of big time directors are men, and a lot of screenwriters are men. It's just a very men congested industry to begin with. So this also applies to people. It doesn't matter if you're writing a book, if you're working on a screenplay, if you're working on a film. These are some tips for when you're trying to develop a female character, whether it be a lead, a side character, whatever. My first advice to people that are developing female characters, the main lead in my book is female. So this is how I came up with these little tips and advice and stuff. So yes, tip one, advice one, whatever you want to call it that I have for you guys, is try to avoid cliches. And by cliches, I mean those painful cliches that we see recycled over and over and over again for women. And the main one I think about is like the sweet, angelic, innocent, knows nothing about sex or the world or even herself. Like that girl, I don't know that girl. Like I know sweet and innocent girls, but they're not oblivious to sex. They're not oblivious to drugs. They're not like, it's not that they partake in these things, but it's not like they don't know that they exist. So that is the biggest cliche that I've seen, and even some of the books that I love, like this just ignorance to any and everything. Like women are not like that. Women are way more well-rounded, which I will get into that, but try to avoid these cliches. And then there's the very sexual one, the one friend that's always into sex. That's all she cares about. All she wants to do is be with a man, and that's her only character trait, is sleeping around. There's no backstory to her. There's no reason why she is the way that she is. She's just that, and that is it. Like, it's two extremes that I see a lot of filmmakers and writers go. It's a really, really sweet, ignorant, innocent one, and then there's the other one that's just like very sexual, very just like to the point that that's all she is. It's just, she's the embodiment of sex. Which leads me into my next tip and or advice, which is try to make your characters more well-rounded. Like, Piper, do you really have to, oh my gosh. Speaking of females, this one over here literally just takes food out of her bowl and just brings it over here to eat it. Why? I don't know. It just seems like an extra step, an unnecessary step to say the least. So anyway, make your female characters more well-rounded. Women are more than, you know, on surface level. We have thoughts and ideas. We have a past. We have a future. We have more than what this one thing. We shouldn't be used as accessories in helping other characters, especially male characters, getting to their ultimate goal. Female characters, they have wants, they have needs. Like I said, with the innocent, sweet girl, she can be sweet and innocent, but that shouldn't be all that she is and who she is. She should not just be the embodiment of the Virgin Mary. She's more than that. She has more things in her life, even if she isn't your main character. Like, don't just make your character just so like I said, surface level. That is so boring. That is not realistic. That is not how women are. There's way more to them than that. I just mentioned this, but I'm going to go more into that, which is be realistic with how you portray women. Like, I've seen so just far-fetched ideas of how women are, and a lot of it has to deal with how they're described in the books or how they're portrayed, you know, the male gaze in films. Like, they focus on, you know, the very slim, you know, perky breasts, nice butt sometimes, I guess, I don't know, it depends on what you're into, straight hair, usually Caucasian, and that's who she is. She's just perfect. She's got this flawless skin. She has no like stretch marks, no obvious like wrinkles, and that is not your average woman. I can't think of any woman that Beyonce, but that is neither here nor there because none of us are Beyonce. But aside from her, like, no woman is perfect like that. Even though I use Beyonce in a joking manner, but she has flaws too. I'm sure Beyonce got stretch marks. I haven't seen them, but I'm sure they're somewhere. I mean, you got it. You've had 3 kids. Okay, now I'm just trying to imagine if I've ever seen any of Beyonce's stretch marks, and I don't know if I have. And with that, don't focus so much on appearances with that as well. Be realistic in how they act. Like, not every woman is afraid of going to a party by herself. Some women travel by themselves. I have a friend who literally has been to a country by herself backpacking. Like, women do that too. It's not just a men's thing. Women don't always travel in groups or feel insecure or, you know, look at themselves and be like, I look so fat and da-da-da-da. Like, women aren't, not every woman is so self-absorbed into their appearances. And as writers, especially when you're describing your character, try not to focus too much on appearances. And I can't remember where I read this, but someone was saying write your characters how you would write your male characters in terms of describing them. If you don't spend so much time describing your male characters, he's got brown hair, green eyes, he's got a 6-pack, he wears a size 12 shoe. Like, if you don't do all that with your male characters, don't do that to your female characters, because then you're moving them from being a person to being something that is like looked at, objectified.
Objectify.
I think I nailed it that time. Objectifying. That word, don't do it. Speaking of reality, reality is not all women seek to have kids, get married, go to college, and are virgins at the age of 20. Like, that's not realistic. I know plenty of women who have lost their V card way before some of my male friends have. And that shouldn't be any more reflection of who they are than if a boy lost their virginity at 14, 15, whatever. But yes, not every woman wants to have kids, believe it or not. Not every woman wants to get married. Not every woman wants to get married to a man. That's the true tea. So keep that in mind when you're writing your female characters. Not every woman is attracted to men, and not every woman is attracted to someone. You know, big male characters in films and stuff, we don't question why they don't want to have kids, because we don't tie their value to having children and being able to raise a family. But we do that to women. So again, when you're writing your female characters, try to take into consideration the things that, like, if you're not going to do that with male characters, don't do that with female characters. On top of being realistic, something that I haven't seen in books, a lot of books, and something that I really need to add in mind, even if it's just like a couple sentences, just with making my character more realistic. I'm not seeing a lot of female characters in books have periods. This is something that I've always wondered about, especially with Twilight, because I read Twilight, and I always wondered, like, I don't think he would want that blood, but like that never came up in discussion. And I know some women don't have periods or they're irregular and stuff like that, but that's never discussed in books. And you would think in Twilight, maybe, I don't think, I'm almost certain, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I am almost certain she's never talked about her period in Twilight. And for her to be dating a boy who just like can't keep like from wanting to drink her blood, maybe that should have been talked about, mentioned. I really do not recall that ever being brought up. But yeah, female characters have periods, but also female characters who have periods don't always talk about it, and female characters who have periods don't always complain about it, and it makes them weaker. But if you are writing in first person, especially, and you have a female character, don't be afraid to talk about their period. It happens every month if you're lucky. Another thing to consider, and this is something that I learned in my film class, but I did have to write it down because I literally forgot all about it until I was making notes, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. I may say it wrong. The Bechdel test. I know we had to do this with a lot of films that we watched, and I was surprised at how many films did not pass the Bechdel test. If you don't know what that is, I am going to outline it here, but if you want to do further research, I do suggest you Google it, and you'd be surprised how many films that you've watched with women characters as the leads and you felt this test. But yes, the Bechdel test is pretty much 3 rules. It has to have 2 named female characters who talk to each other about something other than a man. Which, I mean, try to go through that in your head and you think that you can think of a movie, and you'd be surprised it doesn't pass the Bechdel test. So yes, consider that when you're writing female characters and going along in their story. Women get together, and guess what? We don't always talk about men. And this is just my last little advice tip for you guys, and this is something that I wish I had seen and read more of when I was growing up, and this is diversity. And this does, for me personally, have to do a lot with race, but it also has to deal with age, it has to deal with class, it has to deal with occupation, appearances. Not skinny girls just don't befriend skinny girls. Skinny girls have other friends. Skinny white girls don't just have other skinny white girl friends. And so, like, my friend group is very diverse. Like, not everyone has my body type, not everyone is perfect or have like flowy blonde hair and blue eyes. Like, that is not realistic, especially in this day and age. Be diverse, not only in terms of race, but how your women are portrayed. Like I say, don't worry about appearances, but in terms of film and movies, like, you see what you see. In terms of books and stuff, in writing female characters, I mean diversity way more in terms of race and age and just their desires. You can have a girl who wants kids, you can have a girl who doesn't want kids. A lot of the books that I read had a white female lead, and I was just supposed to accept that and still see myself in that person, which I could, because the race wasn't that big. It wasn't that important. But like, I'll talk about Twilight again. Like, it was always about pale skin. Like, pale skin was like the thing that made you beautiful. And I don't remember any really women of color in that book that weren't just used for something else. Don't use women to showcase other things. Like, make them real characters, make them real people. They're more than just pawns at you showing how great this man is or how bad this other person is. Like, they are individuals. So keep that in mind when you're writing. Give your characters way more consideration. So with building diversity and making your characters way more well-rounded, I swear I always struggle with way more well-rounded or more well-rounded. I'm writing the book, guys, oh my god. With that, if you ever need help with that, aside from these tips and advice, look to the women in your life already. Like your mother, your sister, your aunt, your friend, all those people, they are not the same, and they have paths, they have goals, they have things that they want, things that they don't want, that don't always center around kids and married life. Like, they have other things outside of that that they want to achieve. So look to those women in your life when trying to form and develop these female characters, and you'd be surprised at how more detail you can get with women. But yeah, I hope this video helped you guys, that you guys learned something. Maybe it made you consider other things, and there's a lot more that I could say. I really had a bunch of notes on my paper, and so I was just running through certain ones that I wanted to talk about in this video. So I have more to say. I really do. So if you like this video, please let me know by liking it, commenting, subscribing. That would be real nice. And if you have any topics that you want me to cover, just let me know. And if you have your own tips, advice, or recommendations, leave that in the comment section. I would like to look at them as well, because I am still in the first draft of my more newer novel, so I'm still learning. I'm not saying I have everything figured out and I know everything, so I'm still learning, and I would just, you know, like to know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We will see you all next time. Bye.